available. That we're going to be doing, we're going to pull the pump out. The pump on these things are so important because this is what controls everything. Remember that when we run the transmission, everything that's like the forward or direct drum and the reverse clutch, they use 60, 70 PSI. But the variators, they're going to use anywhere from 120 to 360 PSI. Okay? And all that has to come out of this little pump. When this unit fail-safes, it actually goes to right at 900 PSI. So it's a real strong little pump, and it's held in with 3 6mm Allen screws, plus the one we took out of the back. Yeah. All right. Now I want to spend a little time here because this is what we would call the secret sauce. This is where we have our biggest problem. If you look at it, it's got a metal clad seal right up under here. Okay? It goes into this orifice, and some of them don't use this seal. And it'd just be flat like where this bolt is. Okay? And it won't have that little dip in it. So this is our little radial pump, off-axis radial pump. And let me show you how I would take it apart. Let's put a 10mm on there, please. Go ahead and take them all loose. Now when I take them apart, I like to grab it like this and turn it upside down. And there we go. Okay? Now, if you look in here, we've got an O-ring, okay, that goes right here. And we also have an outer O-ring that goes in here. So I've had people call me up and say, hey Robert, we rebuilt this thing and now we don't have any pressure at all. And what it turned out to be is that they left those 2 O-rings out. And by doing that, you can just imagine this in there and it'll open up. And now we get a big oil leak through here.
And when they say they had no pressure, are they read the scanner? Is that a pressure reader? When you say there's no pressure,
usually people that call me up and say it has no pressure, they have absolutely no idea.
Okay, so
because they don't have a pressure gauge on there, and they just figure it doesn't move, so it's got no pressure. Okay.
All right.
So we really need to use the pressure gauges on these things. In your manual that we gave you, we have the ports, the different taps where to check it. Okay?
All right.
So right here we got our shaft that goes into here with a bushing. Okay? Now we're going to take this apart. And right here. All right? Now, can you guys see that right there? It's got a divot. Okay? That divot goes up.
Outward.
Because if you turn it the other way,
Change it. It is backwards.
we just created a huge leak up here. Okay? So, right here, if you look at this, there's no divots in this rotor up here, but facing downwards, it's got a divot. it right there? Can you guys see it on the screen? Okay. So that has to go downwards. So when we put the pump back together, it's just like any power steering pump. You want to make sure that this doesn't have any gouges in it or anything. And there's no alignment on it. It'll go either way, turned. All we want to make sure is that our openings, okay?
Don't put it backward, right? That's it.
Well, yeah, you just don't put it backwards. Right here, you can go either way.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Only that way.
But if you go this way,
That's the problem.
that's a problem. That's a big problem. Okay? So we're going to go together like that. Now, this has all the little veins in it. I'm not going to sit there and try to take them apart and put them back together. We all know how to do that, especially like in a 4L70. So right here, this doesn't matter which way it goes either. All you want to make sure is that those two pins go into those holes. Okay?
Those veins don't need the rings, huh? Like the regular pump.
No, this don't. This is all. It's a slinger style. It'll all come out. Now, when I go together with this, When I go together with this, I like putting Vaseline in here. You don't want to use an assembly gel. When we were at Jatco, we asked them specifically because we had taken units apart and it had a clear gel in it, and it turns out it was just Vaseline. That's what they use at Jatco, and if Jatco wants to use that, that's what we're going to use.
Vaseline.
So there's no trans gel?
Huh? No trans gel, because they say it contaminate the fluid. Let me tell you about the fluid. They go from type 1 to type 3. And in 2012, in the Nissan Quest with an REO FO9 in it, it takes a type 2 fluid. In 2012, that exact same truck with the exact same transmission takes the type 3. And if you retrofit the 3 into where it's supposed to have 2, it'll chatter, it'll judder, it'll do all kinds of crazy things. And when you go with the 2 and put it where it takes the 3, it acts bad also. It's all in the software, okay? So it's really important. These oils that they swear to God you can use in everything, don't trust them.
Dámele como que con vaselina.
Sí, con vaselina, pura vaselina.
Okay. Now, is there a specific torque on these?
Yeah, the torque is in the book. Right now we're just going through it.
Right.
Okay, now you can put the 10 millimeter right here.
The one that you pull out of at the beginning of this assembly?
Huh?
The one that you pull out of the beginning of the disassembly?
What's that?
The bolt for the pump?
Yeah, here it did. It fell down. The one that fell down.
Yeah, we already got it. Okay. Here's our darling little angel.
The boot, the valve.
This is the flow control valve. If that flow control valve has one scratch on it, like this one does, si está rayado, it's not any good. It will not control the pressure. Okay?
No, you don't control the pressure. Oh, Junior.
Every club.
So if you don't want to go by the reamer, Transco makes this one here. And this one here is just a drop-in. No, this is for the 10. John, you got a JFO11?
Yes.
I'm gonna go steal it.
Here, right.
Come on, Grace.
Come on, customers waiting.
There you go.
So now that we stole this one, this is the drop-in. Can I open it? Sure. You sure? So put it on my bill. And like they say in Mexico, apúntalo en hielo. That means write it in ice. That way it melts.
Got something to my mom.
All right, so now we saw that valve that just got dropped, right? So this is the sleeve that they came up with, and this is the flow control valve. Now they've changed the diameters on it, but the way they correct it is by the height. How much, is actually closing on these holes here. When I did my first one in Modesto, Randall Schroeder showed up and he said, let me check that. He's the guy from Sonics. He says, let me check that and see how well it works. And he compared it to the OE one and he says, yeah, this one works just fine. So all you do, you drop it in, put your cover on it, it's fixed. Okay? No reamer.
Go pressure now.
La original se pega.
Sí, por el tipo de material y con cualquier rayadura ya no funciona bien.
Entonces así va.
Sí,
Es la forma, el pin para adentro.
el pin para adentro. Y viene en el instructivo.
Okay.
So if the board is scratched on this, it doesn't matter because of the sleeve.
Right, because the sleeve's going to take care of it. John, there's your valve pack. It didn't fit. I have 60 witnesses. Anybody got anything to say?
Don't be right.
Okay. Actually, that's a damn good fix for this thing. Where's our original valve at?
Come on, Junior, what you did with it?
We're looking at it.
Okay.
Oh yes, everybody see it.
Esa válvula cuestión es que se lastime la banda cuando se pega.
See, when this valve acts up, cuando esta válvula se comienza a pegar, se descontrola todo. It's just like your blood pressure.
Okay.
If your blood pressure starts acting up, all kinds of funny things start happening.
Oh, something's happening. Something's happening.
All right. So, run that down, please. Okay. So now we got our pump, and that's all it would have taken to rebuild it. Okay? So now let's get to the good part. Let's put this over here. Now we're going to pull our variators out. And right here we got the pin that holds the parking. Okay? I take that out because I like to forget to put it in and have to take it back apart so I can put it together correctly. So now, what we're going to do
Turn it around.
is take these bolts out of the back, the 14 millimeters, okay? And if you look at the two bottom ones, they have divots on them. It's because they're longer. Go ahead, take those two out and these two. Okay, now we can stand them up and you'll see the two on the bottom, they're about a 1/4 inch longer, okay? So that you don't mix them up. Now, Rick Bennington from Superior told me, instead of really messing around with this cover trying to loosen it up, he said, if you'll just get your pin punch and hit it right here on the dowel pins.
Oh.
Okay. Saw how that loosened right up. So now we're going to bring it back here and try and get this cover off without it hitting. But see that pin right there?
Still.
It's not wanting to let it go, is it? So I have seen people actually damage this shaft because they're not paying attention. There we go. We're lucky. Sometimes you just got to get that pin and just knock it in a hair, okay, with your pin punch to get the cover off. Now, on the back of the cover here, or in the back of the unit, there should have been an O-ring, there we go. It goes right here. This is what feeds your secondary shaft, okay?
Muy importante en realidad.
Sí, muy importante.
Y a ponerlo con vaselina.
Hey. And this is what lubricates the push belt, okay? So now we're going to take our follower out. Let's get this case out of the way. You don't have to horse anything, okay? I mean, it's not...
Simple.
Yeah. It's just a matter of having to finagle with it. Now, see this one here? This is a solid shaft, okay? Some of them are gun barrel drilled and have a side lubricating hole that lubricates this, okay? And even if it's drilled, I've run into them where this is stuck on there, and that's the only thing wrong with the unit, and it won't ratio up, okay? And you get ratio control motor codes.
So what do you do? Just sand it or what?
Yeah, just knock it out and
Clean
buddy bore brush it, put it back together, ready to go.
Se gasta esa pieza, ¿no?
Huh?
Se tiende a gastarse.
Sí, no desgaste.
No desgasta.
No,
Rayarse.
nada más se llena de rebabía de la banda
Ah, ok.
y se pega.
Ah, ok.
Entonces es nada más de sacarlo,
Limpiarlo.
limpiarlo y pulirlo y ya.
Ah, ok.
Okay? So now we're down to our pulleys. This is our primary. This is the bearing that you hear about that causes a noise that sounds like the differential. So if this isn't smooth as glass when you take it apart, you need to replace it. Okay? Our push belt, if you look at it, it has like a P shape. And if you go into your manual, I got a close-up picture of the push belt. On page 65, if you look at the top belt, you'll see where it's got like a little P shape, okay, it's going counterclockwise, okay? And some of the belts actually have an arrow on it. So when you take it apart, you can remember this, that P shape goes with engine rotation, okay? So if we're looking at the back of the motor of this car, which way would the motor be turning? There you go, clockwise.
Clockwise.
So that P, counterclockwise.
Oh, there was.
Yeah, counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise.
That P is going to go counterclockwise, okay? So if you're not sure when you take it apart, all you got to do with your scribe is just scratch an arrow in it. Okay? Which way the...
There goes.
Yeah. Okay? So now, when I put it back together, I'm going to make sure that that little fat part goes that way. Okay? So, when we take it apart, I don't want 400 elements all over the place because these bands will come apart.
Easy.
What I'll do,
Zip tie, huh?
así es. If you put this belt in backwards, it's going to explode in the unit. Now, that has been true up until the new generation. We have seen the new generation where they've installed the belt backwards and it still works, but it's a different design. Okay, so you guys see what I've done, right? By doing that, when I put this belt back on, these are going to be sticking up. All right?
And we don't forget.
All right, so let's go ahead and get these 12 millimeters off here. There's 6 12 millimeters. We already took one out, remember?
Yep.
And they all take a little O-ring underneath them. Okay, put those 5 with that one over there. No, you don't want to put that long one there. You put the long one there, and it's gonna chew it up. All right. So now we got all this loose. So right here, what you want to do, you want to get this up under here and pull them up. Let me give you another one.
So one on each side?
Yeah, just get it underneath and just pop it up. Go ahead.
Just move a little bit.
There you go. Now do the other one. You see the shoulder right there?
Right here?
Yes, sir. Now move this over this way. Get a little bite on it. There you go. You got it?
With the fingers.
Okay. Now just lay your cover over this way. There you go. Now you got it out. And if you look, this is our secondary pulley. We have a shim here. This is our thrust shim, and we have a Teflon ring. Okay? In our kit, this ring is updated. So right here, you want to check these bearings, because if this bearing's bad, you'll have ring cut inside that groove right there. Can y'all see that? No, right?
Ring cut.
How about there? You'll have ring cut in that. Ayúdame con esto. Okay.
Ayuden.
You'll have ring cut right there. Okay?
For pressure loss.
So, yes, sir. So you want to make sure these bearings are good. Now, let's get it apart.
Ooh.
it's not wanting to go. All right. So being as I can't get it, we're going to use our TJ1. This puller here will basically work on all of your CVTs.
The triangle sell that too?
Let's run that backwards. Right there.
Is that the tool that they say you can make?
What's that?
Is that the tool that they say you can make, or that on a certain CVT they were saying that there's a tool that you can make yourself? Not the puller, right?
No, this one here is a puller that we've been used to having all the time. It's for bearings on standard transmissions.
I have one.
Yeah, we actually have them for sale here today.
How
All
much?
you're doing is just clamping, huh?
Yeah. Now just run it down till that opens up. Go ahead. Okay, good enough. 9 times out of 10, that belt to pull out without having to do that. So there's our belt, and this is our primary, okay? And this is our secondary. So if you pull this up, okay? Huh? Yeah, some of these models have a spring in it, and if it does, the way you're going to put it back together, I'll show you in a minute. So now that we've got this pulled up, there's a balance piston underneath here that we need to take off. And there's a snap ring. And the reason why I do that with that pulled up is because sometimes the apply piston, it'll keep pressure on the balance. So let's go ahead and release the posi lock. Okay, right there. Now we need to take that nut off.
What we got there? What size is that now?
40 millimeters.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like somebody did that.
Oh yeah. Now remember, this thing's been apart like 20 times, okay? So I don't want to mess with this too much. I got this puller here. This is a TJ2. I just put a bolt in there. You want to back that up, please? Okay. I love these pullers.
Yeah, very easy.
Okay. See how strong that impact is?
Yeah.
That's a Harbor Freight tool.
What's your commission?
Huh? My commission?
Hey, 200. With an extra battery.
All right. So now we've pulled that, but you'll see half of the bearing's still there. and you look at that, that shoulder has to go down, okay? And sometimes you'll take these out, and this will be on backwards, okay? That'll be facing down instead of facing up, all right? Now, there are two ways to get that off. I'm going to do it the easy way.
Valero, ¿por qué lado queda?
No tiene guía.
Tiene guía.
Este va a sentar aquí.
I let the weight of the jaws grab the pulley or variator. And once I feel it get, then I'll go and I'll close it. Okay, go ahead and run it down. Go ahead. Okay.
Wow.
Back it up. There you go. Now, remember, on these units, this pulley will have 12 check balls. Okay? There's the rest of our bearing. There's our balance piston. There's our apply clutch that takes the seal in there. And this is our spring. Okay?
Okay.
Now,
Check one.
Cayó una sola.
The rollers.
now instead of having 12 check balls, I've got our rollers in there. Where's the other one? Right there.
So that kit comes with the rollers?
Yes, sir. You know, what would you rather do? I mean, if you put a roller in there, in this case, it would have 4 rollers on each part. And that's only one point that roller is going to grab in that shaft. Okay? Or you can have that. Okay? And we've taken these apart where there'll be little indentions where the roller balls start wearing out and just dress them up with the file, put them in, and it'll work smooth as butter. Okay? So, right here, what we want to do, you'll see that hump right there? That's real important, the way you line that up, because if you don't put that hump where it's supposed to go, it'll leave one of these channels open and your roller will come out. So we take that off, and that hump goes in that circle.
Okay, circulate.
Okay? Some of them have 3 squares.
Okay.
You want the hump where opposite of where your pins go or your balls go. So you put that in there like that, and see, it covers it all up. Now if you put that hump where one of the balls is supposed to go, yeah, they'll come out. And in your book, in one of the next to last pages, you'll see a piston that got chewed up by the check balls. Now, I've always said it takes balls to build a CVT. So I went to my doctor, and he gave me this stress ball because he's checking me. And I said, man, how am I going to hold this up so I can put all those things in there? So all I do, I got the stress ball.
Oh, so it's not for the dog.
So there we go. Now, if I was going to put a ball bearing back in there, I'd leave that level. But being as I'm going to put a pin in there, I want to go down just a bit so I can line it up and just push it in. All right, so now we got that. I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to put this in, and that I'm going to put on the big circle right there. Line it up.
¿Cuál es lo que ocasiona problema? La que trae balitas.
Mira, si trae balitas, la puedes poner las balitas, como tú quieras.
O sea que el kit viene así.
Pero cuando pones ese rodillo ahí, tienes muchísima más superficie que está tocando en lugar nada más de los puntos donde las balitas.
Move that up and down. Tell me what you
Es
think.
mejor poner los rodillos que poner las balitas.
Es mejor eso viene en el kit para que las pongas.
See how smooth that is? All right. So I was mentioning earlier about how dirty these things get. This is why these pulleys got to be taken apart.
Okay, clean.
This thing's been taken apart 20 times. Look what I just pulled out of it. And every time I show people that I work on it,
Still.
and it's still releasing material. Okay? These weren't put in the hot tank or anything. They were just wiped down for that purpose so that you guys can see how much of that material is inside these pulleys. Okay? It's really important that you put that, you always take them apart, clean them up, and put the new seals in it. Now, our kit comes with the OE seals. Okay? Then you put that back into place. Now we've got our apply piston, and this is where it gets hard. We got a press plate that's cut out that goes right there. Okay? Now, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on it, you know, to get the piston back into place. So what I do, I got everything in place. I'm going to grab this right here with my two hands, pull this around, and with the weight, I'm going to set it there.